Hey, Rob, thank you. I appreciate it. Just ready to go here? How's everybody doing this morning? Good. World of cryptocurrency and blockchain. That's what we're here to talk about today. For me, it's a fascinating world. I got introduced to it December, over Christmas of 2012. A great friend of mine that I've known for 30 years called me up at Christmas, said, hey Todd, I got this really cool thing. It's called an ant miner, and it's mining this stuff called Bitcoin, that this is this digital currency that's used around the globe. And I'm like, Bob, that's really strange. I'm not really sure, about this stuff. And his claim to fame is he invented the mouse pad. So he's always a little bit out there. So I'm like, okay, Bob, I'll listen to you. And I did a little research, and took about 6 months that he kept after me and said, hey, you've got these data centers with your business. Why don't you just put some miners in that? You have fixed power costs. It's all right, Bob, I'll do that. Put my miners in there, started mining Bitcoin. And it was great at the time. He showed me how to, mine my Bitcoin, take it out to Coinbase, turn it into fiat. I was making $5,000, $7,000 a month mining a Bitcoin about every day to every other day. And it was great, except for now I look back at those trades and it's 11 Bitcoins for, $2,500, $2,700. I would take those back today. If I was smart, I would have held on to them. So blockchain is a transforming technology. It's transforming our society, our economy in many ways. One of the first ways is in the financial area of things. This transformation is allowing us to manage exchange of value, being able to remove the middle person, our banks, or a trusted entity that we have to go through to make a transaction, which is really a great thing. But is it really ready for the mainstream now? This technology is very new. We've just started this. In 2009 is when the first block of Bitcoin was actually created. So I'm not sure it's ready for the mainstream, and it's hard for people to understand. I have all these conversations with people about what is Bitcoin, how does it work, how does the digital currency work. I don't understand public keys and private keys, so it's challenging. And it reminds me, how many of you guys fully understand Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, or think you do? We've got 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 people, and so I think the most of you have been introduced to it. Obviously, you're here today, so you're trying to learn. Well, let's take a little bit think about the history. So I want to walk you through kind of a little bit where it started. There are some very early day cryptocurrencies that came about. It was eCash, Hashcash, BitGold, and each one of these, as they came out with some new ideas. BitGold introduced the Merkle tree to what they were doing, but it really set the stage for this very mysterious guy, Shiitake Nakamoto, and he wrote an 8-page white paper. Nobody still really knows his identity of exactly who he is, but it's a beautifully written white paper. And it was entitled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer economic cash system. So that started all of Bitcoin. In 2009, he minted the first Genesis block for Bitcoin. It was worth a 50 Bitcoin reward. And he put in the Coinbase, or the text of the block, Chancellor, on the brink of second bailout of banks. So that's very interesting in how he was looking at Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and trying to remove, the middle party, as the banks are abusing, their things. We know all about the bank bailouts that we did in the U.S. It's been all over the world. So understanding new technology, and as new technology comes along, sometimes it's hard for us to really grasp and understand. And it reminds me a lot of the early days in the internet. So anyways, this USA Today show, they're talking about the internet. What is the internet? What is this @ sign? What does this mean? What is internet? And they're trying to describe, it's this computer system that's used by universities, or they're not really sure how to describe it. And this was only back in 1994.
Oh, that's
That
right.
little mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At.
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard it.
Around
I'd never
or
heard it
about.
said. There it is. Violence at NBC GE.com. I mean,
Well, Allison should know.
what
do you
is
say to that,
internet
Allison?
anyway?
I'm afraid that if I subscribed to something like internet,
You would really be hooked.
I would get hooked and I would never, spend time with my family.
What do you write to it like mail?
Well, as I mentioned, I have no desire to be a part of the internet because I feel like I'm so inundated with information all the time.
I wonder if she's on the internet
that I
now.
I don't want more.
So she doesn't want more, doesn't have any desire. She's not really quite sure what this thing is. So new technology comes along and it typically goes through 3 stages, or new ideas go through 3 stages. We go through ridicule. We've been through that. They go through oppositions, where people try to, down talk it, say it's, worthless, all types of oppositions. But eventually they come around to acceptance. So we're slowly moving, hopefully, towards that path of acceptance. And sometimes I feel like, I'm Alice in Cryptoland and trying to understand everything that's going on in the Bitcoin world, and there's a lot. There's a lot of things going on. And, Charlie and Buffett like to poke a lot of fun at cryptocurrency, so I thought we'd poke a little bit of fun.
Bitcoin reminds me of Oscar Wilde's definition of fox hunting, the pursuit of the uneatable by the unspeakable.
Well, it sounds better than what I used before. The asset itself is creating nothing.
I think it's a scumball activity.
Bitcoin and ICOs, I agree completely. It's one of the crazier speculative things.
Now, it's funny, a few months back he was talking about how great Bitcoin was.
That they own it. I mean, if the stock goes down, we'll buy more of it.
Bitcoin is worthless artificial gold, which if it succeeded would facilitate a lot of illicit activity. Now that is not something I think the world needs.
Somebody gave me some for my birthday. Then a few years later I thought, hey, I'm going to sell that.
Well, I don't expect every investment bank to agree with everything I think. They have a lot of animal spirits in investment banking.
I would short it if there was an easy way to do it.
So what we don't understand, we just tend to call names. Great financial guys. They're very traditional. They understand the traditional ways of things. But the traditional ways always change, and they change over time. If you think about, I'm 54 now, if you think about what's happened in our lifetimes, or in my lifetime, I look back, I've seen all kinds of innovations, the internet being one, but everything from microwaves to cell phones to from rotary dials. I mean, it goes on and on. So innovation continues to move, and we continue to grow. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is one of the most significant innovations I've seen come along in many, many years. It's global. It is in every single country in the world today. So what gives it value? That's one of the biggest discussions that we have. So, Warren and Charlie talk about, it doesn't have any value, it doesn't do anything. So let's look about what actually gives currency value. Well, in 1928, the US dollar was actually a gold certificate. So you could actually take your $20 bill in, take it down to the Federal Reserve, they'd give you back a $20 gold coin or 2 $10 gold coins or 4 $5 gold coins, however you wanted to exchange it. And it was gold, I think the coins at that time were 98% pure gold. So you could change in those certificates. Well, in 1933, Roosevelt, by executive order, ordered everybody to turn in their gold over $100 and bring it down to the Federal Reserve, and they were going to issue new government money for that. Well, that's exactly what they did, and that's the money that we have today. Well, a year later, in 1934, he decided to devalue that by 59% by executive order again. So what So that's made the $20 bill that you carry today, worth about 6 grains of gold. A dollar bill is only less than a grain of gold. So if you didn't turn in your gold in 1933, you would have a whole lot more money. Right now, since you turned in that gold in 1933, you're going to have 98.7% less money than you would if you held that gold till today and sold the gold. So, what the Federal Reserve says about our dollars today is our dollars are backed by the GDP. Well, the GDP is our consumer spending, our business spending, our exports, less imports, and our government spending. So essentially we're carrying debt notes around in our wallets. It's the debt of our government. So what gives cryptocurrency its value? Well, cryptocurrency is ultimately backed by the products, assets, services, and the economy, the trade and the economy that's used for. Personally, and this is my opinion, I'm no expert in this, it seems very much the same. It is backed by the economy that we believe as people that supports it, and cryptocurrency cannot be changed by executive order. You can't change the value of it. It's the world economy and us as people that use it in trade and services that will decide and set the value of that and maintain value. And it can't be, it's borderless. It's global. It's used all around the world. So no one government, controls this. It's us, the people. It is really the currency of the people. So let's talk about a use case of it. There's a lot of things going on in the market. We know Bitcoin, we know Ethereum. Ethereum's a framework that a lot of altcoins and stuff are built off of. Well, we have a project. I'm the CEO of Rewards.com, and we're going into the loyalty industry. I've been in the loyalty industry now for 20 years. Built a lot of the programs out for the banks and airlines, programs that many of you may have touched. Built a program out for Bank of America called Add It Up. I started Advantage e-shopping for American Airlines. Handled the system of record for everything non-flight for American. If you got any miles that didn't go through flying on a plane, it came through my systems. So through that 20 years of experience, we've developed many relationships. We have 7,000 merchant partners. And I bought Rewards.com here a few years ago. Was going to put a traditional points model on it. And ultimately, I decided, as we were kind of going through the process, I went to a meetup group because I was mining Bitcoin, and I'm talking about what we're doing with the loyalty and the points program, and decided, some guy down at the end of the table said, hey, you should do an ICO with that. I'm like, that's odd, what's that? So I went back and did some research, started really taking a deep dive into blockchain and the technology, that's behind it, what the movements are, what the projects are. And I found that it was a perfect fit for what we do for loyalty and rewards. The loyalty industry is a very vast industry. There's about $3 billion roughly or more a year. There's no good statistics on it, but just in the US alone is $78 billion a year that's given out in point value. Around the world, we estimate $300 to $500 billion, dollars a year that's put out in points, but that's put out every year. There's trillions of dollars in holdings in point value. Well, what if that actually had real value and it just didn't disappear? The average consumer right now holds 23 programs, or 29 programs, sorry, and they're only really active in 1 or 2. But if they got real value out of that ecosystem, it does a couple things. It helps the business and the program, because now the currency that's out in the market, they're not building liability on their books. They're actually trying to market and bring that currency back in instead of keep it out. One of the biggest conversations I had with American Airlines every year when we would go in and talk to them about business wasn't about how we acquire new customers or how we provide new benefits for it. It's how we create breakage. How do we create breakage in the consumer base? How do we create expirations? How do we get them to use their points and miles for something other than a flight? So, that was because they're trying to manage liability. They have a cost basis of that liability, and they don't want it to keep going up. So they put out a lot of currency every year, and they take in a lot of on redemption, but they need to manage that because they can't keep that rising liability. So what does it really mean? Well, for the rewards are used for everything. Again, we said it's vast market. You've got points, miles, perks, cash back, a whole variety of things. It's in fuel and entertainment and healthcare, retail, you name it. It's everywhere. So let's talk about what an economy would look like in a rewards system. And in our system, essentially, what we're paid to do is drive traffic into merchants and create retail sales for the merchants. They fund us that. So we're trying to get a really good graphic. So, but it's hard to explain sometimes. But you've got the consumer out there goes shops at Gap. Gap's going to pay us about $5 to $6 in currency, USD currency. We take that USD currency into the rewards earning fund, and we go out to the open market and we buy, $5 worth of our currency back from the market, and we give back to that consumer. That consumer then has what is at that time of the market price, $5 worth of rewards currency. They can then take that and go out to lunch with it. We have a mobile payment app that they can use that we go through the gift card credit rails with the merchants to allow a transaction to take place. We handle the conversion on the backside on our program, and that allows you to go out to Chili's, use the mobile app for lunch. We take in the reward currency, so essentially we're buying back the reward currency from the consumer, and we'll turn that out and give it to the next consumer as that cycle goes, and it stays a complete cycle. So everything is based off the current price and the spot price in the market, so it does have fluctuation, which is a unique dynamic to the reward currency. Rewards.com as a program is the genesis program of the rewards blockchain that we'll be building. So if you think about the crypto world and what we're doing out there, there's really two parts to it. There's the currency part, and then there's the underlying blockchain technology. You need the currency and some type of token to build on the blockchain, but there's a lot you can do with that blockchain. You can store data with it. You can manage your currency, you can manage accounts. In the rewards protocol, we have a set of APIs that businesses and programs can connect to that blockchain. We have consumer controls where they can control how their marketing data and their marketing information goes out. And we have marketing management for programs, because ultimately these businesses need to reach us and to communicate to us, but they don't necessarily always need our email address. We look at what happened with Facebook and leaking a lot of our personal data. It would be better to give them an ID and allow them to go through controls to send that information to us. They can still market to us, they can still reach us, but we have the power to turn it off and say that you're abusing my data, or I don't want to see information from you anymore. In this protocol, we'll be able to bring in other programs like Rewards. Again, Rewards will be the genesis program for our blockchain. We'll bring in other programs, both retail, airline, hotels, small merchants, large merchants, etc. There'll be a foundation which will not govern the protocol, because the protocol is supported by the global community, but the foundation is there to promote and help other businesses utilize it and understand the ROI as they come into the program. So I can go on a long time about my program, but I want you guys to get on to your other speakers today. So if you have any questions or come up and feel free to ask me, go to rewardstoken.io and read our white papers and about what we're doing. Always feel free to reach out on Telegram. I'm on Telegram, our admins are on Telegram all the time. And that's at Rewards Token on Telegram.